They said I wasn't made for this game, not built for pressure, not polished enough for their pristine field, not disciplined enough to wear their jersey. But the moment the ball kissed the net and 30,000 people lost their minds, they realized something they should have known from the start. I wasn't just made for this, I was born for it. It started the way storms always do, quiet at first, like a hum under your skin. You don't notice it until the weight in the air becomes undeniable. That's how it felt my first day with the team in New York. The field looked like a dream I'd sketched in the back of every high school notebook. Green blades under stadium lights, bleachers that kissed the sky. I should have felt like I'd made it. Instead, I felt like I'd been dropped behind enemy lines. They didn't need to say much. You learn to read tone before you read words. The head coach glanced at me like I was paperwork he forgot to file. The girls on the field passed the ball with rhythm, laughter, chemistry. But when the coach waved me in, everything shifted. The laughter died. The rhythm cracked. I jogged onto the field, nerves churning in my gut like broken glass. "Monica Blake," I said with a tight smile. A few girls nodded. Most didn't. One of them raised her eyebrows, then turned away like I was background noise. No handshake, no welcome, just cold turf and colder stares. Drill started. I ran like hell, passed with precision, took shots with power. But every touch of the ball felt like trespassing. They barely passed to me unless they had no other option. I played with ghosts and shadows. After practice, I sat alone, peeling off my cleats while the rest of the team laughed in the locker room. Their voices felt like another language I hadn't learned. Coach Jenkins walked by without a word. I looked up. "Coach?" He paused, not fully turning. "Yeah?" "I was just wondering, how did I do today?" He glanced at his clipboard like he had better things to read. "You've got speed. But this isn't a street game, Blake. Discipline wins here." Before I could ask what that meant, he was gone. Discipline? I'd been playing since I was 8. Practicing before school, running drills until my legs screamed. My dad called me the wind because defenders couldn't catch me. My high school coach said I had the instincts of a pro. But now, here, I was being told I wasn't something enough. Every day after that felt like a test with no right answers. I showed up early, stayed late, studied film, pushed through bruised ankles and blistered feet. Still, nothing changed. No words of encouragement, no eye contact. Just the same silence from Coach Jenkins and the same tension in practice. During a scrimmage one afternoon, I intercepted a pass, cut through 2 defenders, and fired the ball straight into the top corner. The goal echoed like thunder. My heart leapt, but no one clapped. The goalkeeper threw the ball back with a grunt. One of the midfielders rolled her eyes. Jenkins just blew his whistle and moved on. I remember standing there, sweat on my brow, heart thumping like a drum solo, and thinking, what more do I have to do to be seen? That night I sat in my tiny apartment, eating microwaved noodles, staring at my cleats on the floor. I replayed the shot over and over in my head, wondering why it felt like winning and losing at the same time. I called my dad. He always knew what to say. "You run today, baby?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Run like you were the storm." I hesitated. Didn't feel like it. He paused. Then, "Storms don't ask permission. They just come." I held on to that. The next morning, I showed up even earlier. Ran 5 laps before anyone else showed up. Practiced penalties by myself. Pushed the ball against the wall over and over until my calves ached. I thought maybe someone would notice, but the team arrived, saw me already sweating, and walked right past. Later that week, the team list for the upcoming match was posted. I scanned it. My name was there. Barely. Bench. Substitute. Maybe. It felt like a door half opened, but only if I begged. Becca, the star forward, strutted past, tapping her name at the top of the list with a smirk. "You're lucky coach even remembered to put you on," she muttered. I didn't answer. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But something in me said, wait until the field can answer for you. At the match, I sat on the bench wrapped in my team jacket, trying to keep my body warm and my hope from freezing over. The crowd chanted, the lights burned, the game started. I watched every play with a hawk's focus. Becca missed a pass, then another, but no one said anything. She was golden, untouchable. Meanwhile, I sat with fire in my lungs and cement in my legs. Third quarter. Still benched. I leaned forward, every muscle in my body aching to move. Coach paced the sidelines, barking orders, but never once looked my way. I began to wonder if I existed to him at all. Someone in the stands shouted, "Put in number 19." That was me. Coach didn't flinch. One of the assistant coaches leaned toward him. I couldn't hear what he said, but I saw the reaction. Coach scowled, shook his head. I knew then. They weren't just forgetting me. They were avoiding me. That night, back in my apartment, I didn't eat. I didn't stretch. I just sat. Music off, lights off, just the whir of the ceiling fan and the buzz in my brain. I'd come all the way from Georgia. Left behind family, friends, everything I knew just to sit on a bench like I was decoration. I pulled out my journal, wrote 4 words. They can't stop me. I didn't sleep. Next morning, I showed up to practice even earlier. It was still dark. The field lights flickered on like they were greeting me. I ran drills in silence, passed to an empty goal, chased shadows and created opponents in my head. This wasn't just about soccer anymore. It was about being real in a world that wanted me invisible. A week later, we had another scrimmage. I wasn't supposed to start. But Becca twisted her ankle during warm-up. Coach hesitated. I saw it. That look. Like he was weighing whether losing Becca was worse than playing me. "Blake," he barked. "You're in. Don't screw this up." That was all I got. But for me, it was oxygen. I ran onto the field with a hunger they didn't understand. First ball that came my way, I snatched it like it was mine by birthright. Danced around a defender. Shot, goal, silence. Then light applause, like they weren't sure whether to be impressed or annoyed. Coach didn't say a word. I didn't care. I scored again. This time off a rebound. 2 goals in 15 minutes. The whistle blew. Scrimmage over. I jogged off expecting something, anything. Coach looked at his clipboard. "We'll see if you can do that when it matters." I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I nodded. "You will?" In the locker room, I sat by myself again. Becca limped in, surrounded by girls. One of them glanced at me and whispered something. Laughter followed. But this time it didn't sting as much, because something had shifted. I had made a crack in the wall, a small one, but cracks spread. And I was just getting started. The sun was brutal that day. Not hot, just blinding. Like it wanted to spotlight every crack in me before I even stepped on the field. We were at Randall's Island Park, the biggest venue yet. Stands packed with fans waving blue and white flags, faces painted, drums pounding from the bleachers. The semi-final match of the East Coast Regional Championship. Cameras were already rolling, broadcasting to local channels. I should have felt electric. Instead, I felt like I was walking into a courtroom. I arrived 2 hours early, gear in hand, headphones in. The locker room was buzzing, girls stretching, taping ankles, taking selfies. But when I walked in, the air turned sharp. No one said anything. No hey, no nod. Just the echo of my cleats across the tile floor. I went straight to my locker. My name, Monica Blake, was barely still taped above it, like it had been peeled off and half-heartedly stuck back on. A message, maybe. Or just neglect. Either way, it stung. Coach Jenkins came in with his clipboard like a judge with a verdict. He slapped the sheet of paper onto the whiteboard with a strip of green tape. Starting lineup. I didn't need to look, I looked anyway. Forward. Becca. Midfield. Julia, Rosa, Cam. Bench. Monica Blake. My throat closed. I checked again. Maybe my eyes were lying. Maybe my name was hiding somewhere higher on the list. It wasn't. I was listed last, not even second substitute. Just there to fill a spot. A safety net. Becca, already suited up, smirked as she passed me. "Told you," she whispered. "You're great for practice." I didn't respond. I swallowed every word that burned up into my mouth. The worst thing I could do right then was show emotion. That's how they'd label me. Emotional, fragile, unstable. Instead, I nodded slowly, like her words didn't matter. But inside, I felt gutted. Like I'd trained for a marathon, only to be told the race was cancelled. We lined up for warm-ups. I did every drill like I was fighting gravity. My feet burned, my lungs ached, but no one saw it. Because no one looked. Coach Jenkins didn't glance at me once. His eyes were on Becca. Even when she jogged lazily, even when she missed 2 easy touches. He laughed with her. Clapped when she flicked the ball sideways. I chipped a perfect shot into the corner. Nothing. Minutes before kickoff, we gathered in a huddle. Coach's voice was sharp. This is it. This is what we've trained for all season. Eyes on the prize, girls. Play tight, smart, and fast. He looked around the circle. Becca, lead up top. Cam, control the pace. Julia, distribute wide. I want clean, crisp passes. No ego. Then his eyes skimmed over me like I wasn't even there. Everyone else, be ready to support if needed. Not even my name, just everyone else. The team shouted in unison, 1, 2, 3, win. I clapped weakly, but it was hollow. Game time. I sat on the bench with a water bottle and a storm brewing in my gut. The whistle blew and the game erupted. It was fast, chaotic, electric. But I was still, trapped, watching it all unfold like a ghost on the sidelines. First 10 minutes, Becca missed a one-on-one. Coach clapped. 20 minutes in, she got dispossessed in midfield. Coach shouted encouragement. Meanwhile, I couldn't breathe. Every play I watched reminded me what I could have done better. My foot twitched every time someone hesitated. I studied the defenders, slow on the left side. I could have broken that gap. I saw space the others didn't. It was like watching a puzzle that refused to solve itself. Then the moment that broke something inside me. 37th minute. Cross came into the box. Becca, wide open, slipped. Ball rolled past her like a gift she threw away. The crowd groaned. Coach threw his hands up, but then, "Keep going, you've got this!" The assistant coach leaned in. "Monica's ready, give her 5. See what she can do." Jenkins waved him off. "She's not playoff material?" My ears burned. I wasn't playoff material? I closed my eyes, counted backwards from 10. I thought about the extra hours I'd put in. The bruises, the blisters, the nights I cried myself to sleep, whispering that it'd all be worth it one day. And now I was hearing this? At halftime, we were down 0-1. The locker room was tense. Coach walked in like a firestorm, threw a marker at the whiteboard and started sketching arrows and diagrams like the problem was strategy. "Becca," he said, "you need to tuck in more. Julia, stop holding the ball too long. Cam, be more aggressive." Not a word to me. I stood up. "Coach," he turned, surprised. "Yes? Just give me 5 minutes." Becca rolled her eyes. Someone snorted. Coach stared. "You want to play? I know I can change the game." He shook his head. "This isn't practice, Blake. We're not experimenting today." I stepped closer. "Coach, with all due respect, we're losing." Silence. He stared at me for a long beat, then cold as ice. "Sit down." I sat, but not because I gave up, because I knew that storm inside me. It was just gathering more force. The second half began, and I stayed where I was, anchored to that bench like dead weight. 60th minute, still down. Then Becca went down. A collision mid-run. Her ankle twisted unnaturally. She screamed, clutched her leg. The medics rushed in. The crowd fell into hush. Coach looked panicked. He turned to the assistant, who looked back at me. Their eyes locked. The assistant nodded. Coach gritted his teeth. "Blake, warm up." I froze for a second. "Now?" I jumped up, heart pounding, lungs stiff. I peeled off my jacket, tied my laces tighter. My body moved like it had waited its whole life for this second. For this. I was at the sideline in less than a minute. Ref signaled. Substitution board lit up. Number 9 out. Number 19 in. Me. I jogged onto the field. The turf felt different, like it had been waiting for me. The crowd barely noticed. But I did. I made a promise to myself right then. They'd remember this moment, even if it killed me. The moment my cleats touched the turf, something inside me cracked wide open. Not fear, not nerves, something primal. Something I'd buried under months of silence, sidelong glances, and bitten tongues. I didn't jog. I charged. I wasn't there to contribute. I was there to burn down every doubt they'd cast on me. I didn't even hear the crowd anymore. Or Coach Jenkins shouting plays. It all blurred. What I heard, loud and pulsing, was my heartbeat. What I felt was hunger. First touch, midfield. Ball swung to me from Cam too fast, a little high. I didn't flinch, controlled it with my thigh, dropped it to the grass like silk, and pivoted before anyone could press. Defender lunged. Too slow. I slipped past her with a shoulder feint so smooth the sideline gasped. I heard it, the shift. Second touch. I threaded a pass between two defenders that no one saw coming. Julia caught it and looked up, shocked, as if the ball had teleported to her feet. She hesitated, then fumbled it. Lost it. Coach shouted something angry, but it wasn't at me. For once, it wasn't me. 2 minutes later, the ball came back my way. I was sprinting left wing, defender right on me, cleats snapping at my heels. I cut in. Heavier touch than I wanted, and she caught up, shoulder to shoulder. She shoved. Hard. I stumbled but didn't fall. She smirked. You're fast but not strong enough. I didn't answer. Next play, I returned the favor. She tried to muscle me again. I dipped low, leaned into her, and exploded past. I felt her curse under her breath as I left her spinning in my shadow. That's when the crowd noticed. I felt the swell, heard my name for the first time from the stands. Go, Blake. The ball rolled ahead. I struck. Clean, pure. Upper corner. It hit the post. Groans echoed. So close. Inches. Coach Jenkins muttered something under his breath. I didn't care. That shot said everything. I wasn't background noise, I was threat. Play resumed. 10 more minutes of pure war. My lungs burned. My legs begged. But I refused to slow down. And then, it happened. A deflection. Cam sent the ball into the box low and fast. Their defender tried to clear, misjudged. It bounced off her shin. Right to me. No time to think. I struck. Bottom left. Goalkeeper dove. Too late. Net. Rippling. Roaring. 1-1. Explosion. Not just from the fans. My team. For the first time, my team. They ran toward me, arms out, shouting, laughing. Julia tackled me in a hug. Cam patted my head. Even coach looked stunned. His jaw tight, eyes locked on me. I didn't celebrate. Not really. I just stood there, panting, staring into the crowd like I belonged to it. Because I did. I always had. Back at midfield. Be some spiff. The tension changed. The defenders eyed me differently now. The way lions watch a flame, unsure if it's warmth or destruction. They didn't whisper anymore. They barked orders, screamed at each other. Double her! Left side! Watch Blake! I heard them. I smiled, because now they saw me. And Coach Jenkins? He couldn't look away. But then came the test. 85th minute. We were pressing high. I got the ball again. Danced past 1. 2. I saw space. Tiny, sharp, perfect. I threaded it to Julia, who sprinted forward. And choked. Hesitated. Lost possession. They countered. Fast. Cam slipped on the chase. Their striker tore down the middle. Open field. 1-on-1 with our keeper. Goal. 1-2. Silence. Good punch. Julia slammed the grass with both palms. I'm sorry, But it was too late. Coach looked like he wanted to eat nails. I looked at the clock. 5 minutes. That was it. He turned toward the bench, gesturing furiously. Rosa! In! Cam off! I stood still. Heart hammering. No words from him. No instructions. But I knew. I had 5 minutes to shift this or sit with regret for a lifetime. Kick off. We moved fast. Aggressive. Desperate. But tight. Smart. I dropped deeper into midfield, collecting the ball, building plays. I became the axis. And they tried to stop me. The defenders fouled hard. One elbowed me in the ribs, another clipped my heel. I hit the grass, bit my tongue to keep from screaming. Ref ignored it. I got up, again and again. Coach was shouting now, pacing. Becca sat on the bench with ice on her ankle, arms crossed, jaw tight. Her eyes never left me. 90th minute, we earned a free kick. 30 yards out, slight angle. Coach barked to Julia to take it. I stepped in front of the ball. Coach screamed. Blake, fall back, let her shoot. I didn't move. The ref whistled, urging us to go. Julia looked at me. Her eyes darted toward Coach, then back to me. She stepped aside. I stared at the goal. Took 5 steps back. The crowd was standing. I inhaled. Everything blurred. The field, the noise, the fear. Only the ball remained. I struck. It soared. Keeper leapt. Fingertips brushed it. Not enough. Goal! 2-2. Crowd lost it. I dropped to my knees, fists clenched. My chest heaved. The turf felt like fire beneath me. Coach didn't move, didn't blink, but the assistant coach, he smiled. And for the first time, he clapped. Once, twice, slowly, deliberately. I got up. No celebrations now. Game wasn't over. I didn't want applause. I wanted the win. Extra time loomed. And I knew they still didn't expect me to finish it. But I would. They say adrenaline feels like electricity. But that's not what was running through me when extra time started. What I felt was something deeper, older. like flint grinding against steel, sending sparks up my spine. I wasn't playing soccer anymore. I was playing survival. As we took positions again, I glanced at Coach Jenkins. He was pacing, jaw tight, arms folded like a man trying to cage a lion. Becca sat beside him, face clenched, watching me like I'd stolen something that belonged to her. Maybe I had, but I wasn't giving it back. The whistle blew. First half of extra time. We pushed forward fast, too fast. Cam drove the ball toward the corner, sent in a high cross. Julia jumped too early. Missed. The defenders cleared. They came back swinging. High pressure. No mercy. I tracked back. Got shoulder checked by a midfielder with arms like steel. I spun. Caught myself. Stayed up. Chased. The ball skipped ahead. Their striker broke down the left. 1-on-1. Our keeper rushed. Dive. Save. Roar from the crowd. She threw it back into play like a cannon. It landed at my feet. I didn't think. I sprinted. My lungs ached. Legs screamed. But I kept going. I blew past midfield, dodged one defender, then another. A third lunged at me, cleats high. I twisted, barely escaping the full hit. His cleats grazed my thigh. Sharp, hot pain. I didn't fall. They wanted me broken, I gave them flames. I reached the box. Julia was ahead, hands up, calling for it. But I saw the gap, saw the keeper leaning right. I went left, cut the ball, shot. It flew fast and rising. Crossbar. Bounce, no goal. Gasps exploded from the crowd. I fell to my knees, fists clenched in grass. Inches. Not again. Not this close. I got up before the heartbreak could stick. Next play, next moment. Every second mattered. Coach was barking orders, fast subs, screaming formation changes. I tuned it all out. I didn't need instructions. I needed the ball. I pressed hard, stole a pass near midfield, turned sharply, sent it wide to Cam. She drove it up. We reset. Then it happened again. A hard foul. Not subtle, not sneaky. The same defender who elbowed me earlier came in with a high knee, right to my hip. I crumpled. The world tilted. Breath caught. The whistle blew but barely. Ref didn't even reach for his card. I looked up from the turf. Vision spinning. Grass in my mouth. I saw Coach. Expression unreadable. He didn't yell. Didn't protest. I pushed myself up, jaw clenched, hip throbbing. Get up! I whispered to myself, get up. Because if I didn't, they'd think they'd won. And that wasn't happening. I limped to the sideline. The trainer rushed to me. I waved him off. I'm good. You're limping. I'm good. Monica, you're bleeding. I looked down. My thigh was scraped raw, red streaks under my shorts. I tasted blood in my mouth, but I didn't care. Wrap it. He hesitated. You sure? I looked him dead in the eyes. Tape it. I'm finishing this. He nodded. Fast hands, gauze, tape. I barely noticed. I was already back in the game before he could clear his kit. The second half of extra time started. 10 minutes left. Score still tied. Penalties looming. I could feel the nerves around me. Cam's passes got shorter. Julia looked winded. Even the defenders were second-guessing. I wasn't nervous. I was alive. Then, a gift. Becca's substitute tried to flick a pass backward. Misread. The ball rolled into open space. I pounced. It was me and the last defender. She was tall, stocky, smirking. She stepped forward. I shifted left. She bit. I sliced right. Gone. I was in the box. The keeper rushed, arms out. Time slowed. No one shouted. No one breathed. I struck low. Fast. The keeper dove, barely missed. But the ball curved. It rolled. Slow, spinning. I thought it might stop on the line. It didn't. Goal. 3-2. We led. The crowd became thunder. The bleachers shook. Flags waved like hurricanes. I collapsed onto the grass, arms stretched wide, face to the sky. It felt unreal. It felt like justice. My teammates swarmed me. Cam jumped on my back. Julia kissed my forehead. Even the bench erupted. But I only looked at one person, Coach Jenkins. He was standing, still, pale. I stared straight at him. He stared back. For the first time in months, I saw it. Recognition. Not surprise, not regret. Recognition. I was no longer a maybe. I was a revelation. The final minutes ticked away. We defended like our lives depended on it. Every ball, every inch, we fought. The whistle blew. We won. I dropped to my knees again. Tears I didn't know I was holding spilling over. Not because we won, but because I refused to disappear. Coach approached, slowly. I stood. He extended a hand. I didn't take it. He opened his mouth. I walked past him, not to be disrespectful, but because I'd spent too long waiting for validation from someone who had no idea who I was. I didn't need his words. I had the game. And the game had already spoken. The locker room was a war zone of joy. Screams, sweaty hugs, wild laughter echoing off tile walls, jerseys tossed in the air, music blaring, cleats pounding the benches. Cam climbed on top of a bench with both fists raised like a queen returning from battle. I stood at my locker, quiet, towel slung around my neck, sweat still drying on my skin. The sting in my hip throbbed with every breath, but it felt more like a trophy than an injury. They'd celebrated with me on the field, sure. The goal, the comeback. But now, in here, the air shifted again. A few teammates gave me nods, real ones this time. Julia even reached out to fist bump me. I tapped her knuckles without a word. It was progress, but I wasn't ready to crack open yet. Coach hadn't come in, not yet. When he finally did, the noise died fast. He walked in slowly, clipboard in hand, face unreadable. Like he didn't quite know how to speak to a room that had watched his assumptions crumble. Good win, he said, voice low. Tough win, ugly win, but those are the ones that count. We earned it. Pause. He looked around. His gaze fell on me. Blake, well done. Just that. He moved on to talk strategy about the finals. But that moment, those 3 words, they landed heavy in the room. Some girls glanced my way, others didn't. But it was said. Still, I didn't let it sink in. Because I knew something they didn't. That goal, that was not the peak. It was just the ignition. 2 days later, we were back at practice. The final match was scheduled for Saturday night at the biggest stadium in the state. Packed house expected. Thousands of eyes, dozens of scouts, ESPN cameras. This wasn't just about a trophy anymore. This was a stage. And every second on it could define a future. Coach put me on the starters list immediately. No speeches, no apologies. Just my name, starting forward. Becca still wasn't cleared. Her ankle hadn't healed. She came to practice, ankle wrapped, arms crossed. Every time I touched the ball, I felt her eyes drilling into my spine. I wanted to say something. Part of me did. But I didn't know what. What do you say to someone who spent months convincing everyone you weren't worth the jersey? That night I called my dad. He picked up on the first ring. You ran that game like a woman possessed? He said. I saw the clip. Everyone's posting you now. My voice cracked. It still doesn't feel real. It's real, baby. You bend that moment to your will. You know how rare that is? Most people wait for the perfect chance. You took yours and made it perfect. I smiled, but it felt fragile. I'm scared though, like, what if it was a fluke? Nah, he said firmly. A fluke is luck. What you did, that was intention. That was built. We sat in silence for a moment. Then he said something I'll never forget. Now that you've bent one moment, go break the next. Friday night before the final, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Every play I'd ever run looping in my brain like film on repeat. I imagined the stadium, the cameras, the scouts, the judgment. But I also imagined the silence after that last goal. That hush, that disbelief. And I wanted it again. Game day arrived. The stadium was a colossus. Concrete walls, glass windows reflecting the skyline. Fans already lining up outside. Inside, the lights felt holy. Blinding, golden, theatrical. We entered through the tunnel, music thundering overhead. Jerseys crisp. Socks pulled tight. My cleats tapped the concrete with purpose. Then we stepped onto the field. A wall of sound hit us. I felt it in my chest. Like bass turned all the way up. My name flashed on the scoreboard during starting lineup announcements. Number 19, Monica Blake. People actually cheered. I froze. Just for a second. Then I jogged out, lifted a hand. Half wave, half armor. Kick off. First 10 minutes, all nerves. Their defense was tight, physical, disciplined. No gaps. I couldn't find rhythm. Coach shouted instructions. Cam tried to send me a through ball, but it was too wide. 15 minutes in, their striker broke through and nearly scored. Close call. It rattled us. We reset. Tightened. By the 30th minute, I found my breath. I started to see patterns. How their right back was overcommitting. How their holding mid turned slow on the pivot. I adjusted. Next pass, I spun off my marker, darted left, called for it. Cam saw me. Delivered a sharp low ball. I took it in stride, nudged it past the defender. Shot. Too soft. Saved. Groans from the crowd. Coach clapped once. Keep taking those. I nodded. But inside, I cursed myself. That should have gone in. I needed to shake the fear. The stage lights, the pressure. Second half, score still 0-0. Tension thick. Then, they scored. 67th minute. A rocket from the edge of the box. Our keeper dove but missed. 1-0. Silence on our bench. Coach paced. Julia looked defeated. Cam wiped sweat and avoided my eyes. I grabbed the ball, walked it back to the center circle myself. As I did, I caught sight of the cameras. Zoomed in, probably looking for doubt on my face. I gave them none. The crowd rose again, voices growing louder, desperate for a response. We kicked off. I dropped deep, collected, built plays. 75th minute. Julia passed wide. Cam crossed. I rose for the header, connected. It sailed wide, but barely. The energy changed. We kept pushing. 78th minute. I received a pass under pressure, shielded, spun, and laid it off to Rosa. She tried from distance. Keeper saved. Corner kick. I jogged to the box. The stadium leaned forward. Cam took the corner. Ball flew. I leapt. Contact. Header. Goal. 1-1. Explosion. I didn't celebrate. I couldn't. I was too locked in. I grabbed the ball, ran it back to the center. Coach was jumping, yelling. But I only heard my heartbeat again. Final minutes. 91st. Stoppage time. We were on their half. Julia tried a shot. Blocked. The ball popped out. Chaos. Bodies everywhere. I saw it rolling toward me. Top of the box. I didn't hesitate. I hit it first time, right foot, laces clean. The ball soared. Time stopped. Upper 90. Goal. 2-1. I froze. Then the noise hit me. Unreal. Crowd exploding. My name screamed. My teammates rushing toward me. That shot bent space. Bent time. Bent everything. I'd done it again. No more than before. This wasn't a goal. It was a message. They carried me off the field. My dad called before I made it to the locker room. His voice cracked. You made the world stop, Monica. And for the first time in a long time, I believed it. They say victory is loud, but the moment after the final whistle felt like silence being split in half. 2-1. Final score. We were champions. My goal, the one that bent space, time, and every doubt I'd ever swallowed, was already playing on the Jumbotron in slow motion. Over and over again. My teammates tackled me, laughed, cried. Cam was sobbing on my shoulder, Julia repeating, You did it. You really did it. I could barely breathe. My chest was too full. Not with pride, not even relief. Something deeper. Like I had been underwater for years and was finally allowed to inhale. Coach Jenkins stood back from the group, clapping slowly, like he wasn't sure if he belonged in the celebration. He looked at me once, just once, then turned and shook the opposing coach's hand. The medals came next. We lined up, grass-stained and bruised, sweat drying on our skin like armor. When they called my name, number 19 Monica Blake, final goal scorer and MVP, I stepped forward to thunder. People I didn't know were chanting, Blake, Blake, Blake! The stadium lights hit my face. Cameras flashed. My fingers touched the medal as it was slipped around my neck, cool and sharp. It felt heavy, but not in a bad way. Heavy like it meant something. In the locker room, the celebration was a storm. Champagne sprays, music turned to max, phones out, selfies posted faster than we could breathe. But I was somewhere else, sitting at my locker in the corner, staring at my cleats. The same cleats I'd worn when coach called me a bench strategy. When Becca laughed in my face, when I kicked that ball and made the whole stadium forget every doubt, Becca walked in halfway through the chaos. She limped slightly, still in jeans and a hoodie, no gear. She stood by the doorway looking around. No one noticed her. Then her eyes landed on me. I didn't blink. She walked over slowly, stopped 2 feet away. I would have made that shot too, you know, she said. I didn't answer. She hesitated. Her voice softened. You played good. Good. She turned and walked away. And just like that, the last piece of her power over me disappeared. That night, when I finally left the stadium, the air felt different. It wasn't cold, but I pulled my jacket tight anyway. Outside, a line of reporters waited. Most hovered near Coach or Julia. But a few turned to me. Monica, ESPN got a second? Blake, tell us what was going through your head on that last goal. Are you planning to enter the draft next year? I froze. Then someone shouted from the back. Hey, is it true the scouts from Stanford were here for you? Stanford. I hadn't even dared dream that far yet. I gave them a smile. Right now, I'm just thinking about getting dinner and a hot shower. They laughed. Cameras clicked. But my mind was racing. Stanford? Me? The moment twisted again, just like the ball had. From invisible to unforgettable. The following week was a blur. My inbox exploded. Emails from schools, sponsorship agents, media outlets. A Nike rep even messaged me on Instagram. Coach called a team meeting, praised our unity, thanked the seniors, talked about rebuilding. He avoided looking at me the entire time. Afterward, I caught up with the assistant coach outside. You knew, I said. You were the only one who believed I could play. He shrugged. Didn't take a genius, just someone who was watching. That hit hard, because most people never look. Not really. Later that day, I found coach in his office. He looked up, clearly surprised. Blake, I didn't sit. I'm transferring, I said. He blinked. What? Got a full offer. Full ride, better program? They saw the final. Want me leading the front line. He leaned back. I thought we'd build next year's offense around you. You build this one without me, I replied. He nodded slowly. No argument, no fight. You deserve it, he said. More than I admitted. I didn't smile. Thanks, I said. But I didn't do it for your admission. I left the room with my head high. At home, I packed slowly. My dad helped fold my training shirts. You sure about this, baby? Yeah, I said. It's not just about winning anymore. He nodded. Then make sure the next coach sees you from the first day. I paused. They won't have a choice. My last night before leaving New York, I went back to the field. The stadium was empty. Silent. I stepped onto the turf. Walked to the exact spot where I'd taken that final shot. I closed my eyes. Heard the whistle. Felt the breath in my chest. Struck the air like I struck the ball. And then, softly from somewhere behind me, I was wrong about you. I turned. Coach stood at the edge of the field. Alone. Wrong from the start, he said. You didn't need discipline. You were disciplined. I just didn't see it. I didn't say anything. He stepped closer. You'll go far. And when you do, don't forget to pull the next kid like you out of the shadows. That stopped me, because I hadn't thought about that yet. He turned and left, and I stood there under stadium lights in total stillness, echoes of the game behind me, a whole future up ahead, and in the middle, me, unapologetically seen. It didn't hit me until the plane touched down. New city, new school, new team. I watched the skyline rise through the oval window and felt the weight of everything I had left behind. Every bruise, every bench, every whisper that once shaped the limits of what I believed I could be. And yet I didn't feel loss, I felt release. Stanford wasn't just a name on a letter anymore. It was real, concrete. The air even smelled different. Crisp and bright, like possibility had a scent. I arrived on campus with 2 bags, 1 backpack, and a heart that didn't know how to rest. Everyone smiled, asked where I transferred from, congratulated me on the championship clip that had gone viral, 4.3 million views and counting. My highlight reel had its own TikTok sound now. Girls on the team whispered when I walked onto the practice field. Some bold enough to say hi. Others just watched, studied. I led them. I didn't need to prove anything. Not this time. First practice was smooth, controlled. My touches were clean, passes sharp, but I didn't go for glory. I didn't need fireworks. I just needed them to see that I was always ready. Every ball, every minute. Coach Delgado was different. She watched everything. Quiet, calculated. After the first session, she pulled me aside. Blake, she said, you play like you've been through something. I smirked. You could say that? She nodded. I don't care about your past. I care about what you bring now. Can you lead? I looked her dead in the eye. I've been leading. Some people just refuse to follow. She grinned. Good. Tryouts next week. But I already know where I'm putting you. That night I sat alone on the dorm rooftop. The stars out west were different, bolder, less shy. I thought about my old teammates. The silence that used to cling to me like a second skin. I thought about Becca, Coach Jenkins, the way he said, don't forget to pull the next kid like you out of the shadows. At the time, I didn't know what to do with that. But now I did. During orientation, we met our mentors, athletes from the junior and senior class who volunteered to guide new recruits. Mine was a soft-spoken midfielder named Tori. Smart, fast, kind. But the moment I met her, I felt the same quiet doubt behind her smile that I used to wear like armor. She didn't speak up in meetings. She barely touched the ball in scrimmages. The coaches called her name last, again and again. After one evening practice, I found her sitting alone on the bleachers. You good? I asked. She shrugged. Trying to be? You play tight, scared. She looked at me. You don't know what it's like. I laughed. Not cruel, genuinely. Tori, I used to be the invisible girl. I was a ghost with cleats. Trust me, I do know. She hesitated. How do you change it? I stopped waiting to be chosen. She didn't reply. So I sat beside her and said the thing no one ever told me. You've got fire. I see it. But you have to stop whispering your own name. Scream it on the field. Every time you touch the ball. She didn't answer. But the next day, she played like thunder. Later that week, Coach Delgado called me into her office. Blake, you just got here. But I've never seen someone flip team chemistry that fast. I raised a brow. Is that good? She smiled. It's captain material. That word hung in the air. Heavy. Captain. Me? Think about it, she said. I did, but not for long. I accepted it the next day. And the season started with fire. Game after game, we won. Not because of me, but because of how we moved together. Like a unit. Like a wave that couldn't be stopped. Tori scored her first goal in week 4. A left foot screamer from outside the box. She sprinted straight to me after. Tackled me into the grass. I screamed my name. She whispered in my ear. I smiled. Louder next time. I never forgot that. Because something had shifted. I wasn't just playing the game anymore. I was reshaping the rules. By mid-season, the buzz was back. Articles, sports blogs, recruiters from the national team circling like hawks. My name started trending again. But I didn't chase the hype. Instead, I started volunteering at a local girls' club. Mostly middle schoolers from the city. Some shy, some loud, all of them hungry. I coached once a week. Ran drills, scrimmaged with them. Told them stories. Left out the pain but gave them the fire. One girl, Kayla, reminded me of myself. Tall, fast, always playing with a chip on her shoulder. One afternoon, she missed a shot during a scrimmage and threw her shin guard across the field. I pulled her aside. You know who I was at your age? I asked. She shook her head. I was angry, and I was scared, and I was good. But no one saw all three. She blinked. I crouched to meet her eyes. You're more than your missed shots. You're a storm. And you don't need anyone's permission to shake the ground. She didn't answer. But that weekend, her mom emailed me. Said Kayla taped the word storm to her bedroom wall. Said she practiced for 4 hours without being told. That was the moment I realized this was bigger than the game. The goals, the trophies, the fame, those were echoes. But changing someone's belief about themselves, that was the thunder. The season ended with a state title. I was named Player of the Year. Offers rolled in. Nike, Adidas, a docu-series pitch from Hulu. And I said yes to some of them, but not all. Because I had already found the thing that mattered most. I remembered who I was when I was benched. When I was mocked. When I was invisible. And I promised I'd be the kind of player, the kind of person that girl needed back then. So now, when people ask what my greatest victory was, they expect me to say the championship goal or the scholarship. But I tell them the truth, my greatest victory was not disappearing. Not when I was pushed. Not when I was silenced. Not when the system said I wasn't made for this. I showed up anyway. I stayed. And I won. Because I became impossible to ignore. And so can you. So if you're watching this, if you've ever been benched, overlooked, laughed at, I see you. You are not small. You are not background. You are the moment. So scream your name. Make them remember it. And when they ask where you came from, smile and say, I've been here the whole time. If this story hit you, don't scroll. Drop your name below. Tell us your storm. Like, comment, and subscribe for more. Your voice matters. Make it echo.